Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a truly fascinating, kind of bizarre intersection where cartoon game physics violently collide with real-world consequences. I call it the opacitator effect. Basically, it's what happens when a totally harmless, ridiculous digital gag breaks through the screen and literally spills over into reality. We've got a wild ride ahead taking us from classic internet animation right into modern parenting dilemmas, so let's just get right into it. Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, the opacitator scene itself. Then, kids mimicking the stunt, followed by parents sounding the alarm. Next, we'll look at the developer's stance, debate digital safety, and finally wrap up with a summary and some final thoughts. Section 1. The opacitator scene. A micro look at Henry Stickmin's badass bust-out route. Right, so to understand the real-world impact, we gotta start at the absolute source. Remember that micro-sequence from the wildly popular Henry Stickmin series? Our protagonist, Henry, drills through his cell floor, lands in a bathroom, and has a fateful choice. He can use a boring old crowbar or test out a highly experimental device, the opacitator. Before he uses it, we actually get this hilarious retro-style review by an in-universe character named Gadget Gabe. And this introduces a brilliant mechanic, ludonarrative irony. In gaming, this means in-game fails are designed as comedic punchlines, not actual frustrating punishments. Gabe enthusiastically promises that with a simple slider, you can literally walk through walls. But, he completely forgets to mention the fatal flaw, that you can't actually make yourself solid again. So, naturally, Henry tries it out. He adjusts the blue slider, turns completely transparent, and instantly loses all physical resistance. And then, gravity just takes over. He falls straight through the prison floor, right past the guards who were just chillin' getting donuts, and drops directly into the Earth's mantle. It's hilarious. It's a total disaster, and it relies 100% on pure cartoon physics. Now, what's really interesting is how this specific scene evolved over time. The creator, Marcus Bermonder, better known as Puffballs United, made some very deliberate tweaks between the original legacy version and the remastered collection. He fixed the spelling of the device from Opacitator to Opacitator, swapped out some copyrighted music for copyright-free tracks, and notably, he changed the fresh red blood on a background knife to dried blood. It was a very conscious effort to dial back the graphic violence just a bit for the remaster. When Henry inevitably meets his fiery, melty fate in the Earth's core, the player gets hit with this classic, comedic fail message. You'd think something like that would come up in the beta testing. It's just a perfect example of the game's meta-humor. Oh, and fun trivia for you eagle-eyed fans. If you're playing the remastered version, you can actually spot the Digger from another Puffballs United game, Dig to China, right next to Henry during his descent. It's a fantastic piece of digital lore that really anchors the joke within its universe, right before we break the fourth wall. Moving on to Section 2, kids mimicking the stunt from screen to living room. Let's see how this builds, because this is where the story shifts from a digital screen right into the family living room. What started as a harmless, frankly impossible video game failure somehow morphed into a really alarming real-world trend. We're talking about primary school-age children dangerously jumping from stairs and landings, actually trying to phase through household walls. Why? Because in their minds, they're using the opacitator to get to school faster. They're literally grabbing TV remotes, jumping off stuff, and genuinely believing that these cartoon physics will somehow protect them from a very real physical impact. Section 3. Parents sound the alarm. The reality of gravity. This, of course, brings us to the very real reaction from caregivers. Parents were caught completely off guard by this. Suddenly, they're faced with the sheer panic of gravity taking over, exactly where the cartoon physics left off. To put this into perspective, let's look at Sarah Jenkins, a mother from Henor. She actually found her 7-year-old son trying to jump off a second-story landing railing, holding a TV remote to activate his imaginary opacitator. She put it perfectly, saying, "It is frightening to think that a cartoon fail can be translated into a real-world emergency." It perfectly captures that utter shock of watching a digital inside joke manifest as a massive physical danger to a kid who just didn't get the joke. Section 4, the developer's stance, warnings and disclaimers. Now, to look at this objectively, we absolutely have to see how the game's developer has historically handled these unintended real-world consequences. Puffballs United actually implements very clear, bold disclaimers right inside the software. These warnings explicitly state that the stunts are purely fictional and should never be attempted in real life. But here's the catch. Context collapse. Kids are bypassing these warnings entirely because they're not playing the full game. They're watching fragmented, out-of-context fail compilations on YouTube or TikTok. They completely miss the safety guardrails the developer put in place.
Section 5. Debating Digital Safety, the Psychology of Play.
So what does this all mean? Is this a game design issue, or is it a matter of media literacy? Let's talk about the psychology of play for a second. Educational psychologist Dr. Eris Thorne offers a brilliant insight here. She explains that preteens often just fail to process ludonarrative irony. In her words, the desire to emulate that character often overrides their understanding of the negative outcome depicted in the game. Basically, the flashy, cool factor of phasing through a floor completely eclipses the reality that Henry literally falls into the Earth's mantle and dies. The finality of the joke just does not register in their developing brains. Section 6. Summary and final thoughts. Bridging the gap. So the crucial point is this: how do we actually bridge that gap between digital entertainment and real-world safety? Well, safety advocates have laid out some highly practical advice to help keep kids grounded. Number 1, monitor gaming habits. Actually watch the content with them so you understand the context of what they're seeing. Number 2, actively discuss digital versus physical reality. Have an open, honest conversation about why cartoon physics absolutely do not apply to human bodies. And number 3, utilize those built-in parental controls to manage access to content that could easily be misunderstood when taken out of context. Which brings us to a really profound question. Where does the line between digital fiction and real-world responsibility actually lie? As creators continue to push boundaries and as kids consume media in more and more fragmented ways, it's a massive challenge we're going to continue to grapple with. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into the Opacitator effect sparked your curiosity about the profound influence gaming culture has on impressionable minds. Keep asking questions, stay grounded out there, and I'll see you next time.